Hello, everyone. I thought a video would be much more efficient than a long old email. So I wanted to reach out for all of you who are impacted or are feeling the ripple effect of the Los Angeles fires. And it's really important for me that I support you in supporting your children so that all of you aren't equally overwhelmed with shock and adjustments. And so I wanted to create this video and I will keep it short so that you get the support you need, um, helping you navigate this situation with your children. So the first thing I want to say is you need to allow yourself a tiny, tiny window to process. And by process, it doesn't mean that you are going to get to the root of all your emotions, that you aren't going to figure it out, in a couple of minutes. I don't mean that you're going to feel completely settled and comfortable, but what I do want you to do is flesh out some of these things that you're feeling or things that are on your to-do list. Think through what are 5 things that are worrying me, 5 things that surprise me, 3 things on my to-do list. What did work? What didn't work? Allowing yourself to just flush these ideas or feelings or lists out allow you to sound more grounded by the time you speak to your child. It is really nerve-wracking for a child to follow a nervous leader, to follow an overwhelmed leader, to follow an unsure leader, to follow an angry leader. That's very disconcerting for a child. And so what I would love for you to be is centered as you can possibly be. And things that will center you are basic information. Basic information, having a couple of things you're going to say to your child helps you with the panic or the fear or the overwhelm. Number one, we were surprised. Were you a little surprised, medium surprised, or really surprised? And then you can share what level of surprise you had. Now, as a leader, you're going to interject, I was surprised. Good thing I had a plan. I was super surprised, but I have thought this through just in case. I was a little surprised, so I already knew what I needed to do next. So allowing your child to feel seen and heard in the surprise and the shock of it, or maybe you want to layer in, I was a little sad about this. I was a little angry about this. It helps support whatever emotion they were feeling initially. Your follow-up with, I had a plan. I knew what to do next. Helps them know I can trust this leader. So I can feel what I need to feel, but my mom and dad are going to figure this thing out. So I don't have to worry about figuring it out. That's what your calm ultimately relays to your child. In the midst of chaos, change, adjustments, my leader has a to-do list that they're following. So I don't need to worry about what are we doing next because they have a plan. They have a plan. So next I'm going to jump toward, it's really important to speak to the child that is in front of you. So yes, if you have multiple children, you'll give the information generically, but ultimately what it will look like for different personalities, and I'm going to split it in threes, it's going to sound a little bit different. So for my feeler children, my emotional children, my nervous or anxious, my kids who are risk averse, for those children, I lead with emotion. You know what? First, I was scared. Then I got nervous. You know what? First, I was shocked, but my heart started going really fast. So then I knew I had to move or figure something out. Or, oh my goodness, I just got tears in my eyes. And then I started the plan. So again, I'm telling them, oh, I filtered through a lot of emotions, knowing I had a backup plan or believing that I was going to start in on my action plan. So again, it's allowing them to understand their body were giving them signals, but they were still super efficient. Like, oh, you were nervous, but you were able to grab your, oh, you were surprised, but you were able to click into your car seat. Oh, you were surprised, so you knew to hold on to the dog's leash, right? So I'm reminding them that they had signals coming from their body, but they also had coping mechanisms that made them efficient, that helped them navigate this new weird thing. For children who are much more analytical, these are like my deep thinkers, talk a lot, process a lot, analyze a lot. For those kids, I don't start with emotion. I start with data points because data is very reassuring to them. They can do something with data points. So I would say, oh my goodness, I'm so glad the city has a system for this. So I was surprised, but I knew the city had a plan. So that's why I heard the helicopter. Oh, I knew when I saw cop cars or the firefighters that an action plan was being put in place by the city. So then I just had to do my family part. So again, letting them know there are systems in place for these types of things is super reassuring for them. They don't want to think that everyone's just feeling things. They want to know that someone is planning, that someone has analyzed and assessed the situation is making really positive steps forward to figure out, say, this mystery or this puzzle. So again, those are the children that I start with data points first. I knew we were going to find a place to live because, there are thousands of places you can rent. So it's just a matter of finding the one that works best for us. Lastly, for your child who may be more of a dreamer, much more of a creative, lives a lot more in fantasy. For those children, I tell or retell the incident through a persona because that creates a more comfortable buffer between real life and fantasy. So real life may be too much to process. And so I create that fantasy buffer. So what that sounds like is, oh my goodness, I heard sirens and I put on my superhero suit and I said, oh no, fire, not today. We are out of here. I am not interested in a roasty toasty bun. So I got my kids and we got in the car. And then your dad was like, I'm a race car driver deep inside. So I'm going to get us to blah, blah, blah. So again, I'm retelling their shock, their surprise, but then I have a plan. And so, how did I help myself navigate through this? I used this different persona, right? So, whether you're Elsa, whether you're Moana, whether you're Mufasa, whatever character that your kid really aligns with, Spider-Man, Batman, whomever it is, I take on some type of persona that mimics what makes sense to them. And I say, hey, I'm like the trash truck driver. I have no time for this. I needed, you guys are my whole, you guys are my garbage, right? I tucked you into my truck and my trash truck, and we went down and we went to the next station. So if you can do it in any way that makes sense to your child. So it doesn't have to make sense to the world, but it has to speak to your child. So those are three different personality points that allow for different ways to connect with your child so that they really feel seen and heard. Lastly, the information I give is sparse. The reason why it's sparse is because when you give too much detail, you open yourself up to worry and panic and doubt. And so that's what will be that will ooze out of your conversation instead of the confidence. So instead of saying, oh, don't worry, we're going to find a house in 3 months, I say, in this moment in time, this will do. This will do. Mind you, you might be thinking, I don't think I can stay here more than 3 days, but your child doesn't need to know that in that moment in time. Your child needs to be in the present, feel very anchored, very safe and secure. That the family unit was able to navigate surprise, chaos, scariness. You were able to navigate it. And in this moment, you were all together, you were all safe. If your child asks, what what if this house burns down? You know what? Let's look at the signals. Has a cop knocked on the door? No. Do we see firefighters on the street or hear sirens in front of this place? No. Let's look in the sky. Do we see, right? So I'm helping them assess their environment in a very practical way. After that, I can reassure physically. Come here. I think you're having a memory of this, or come here, I think you're thinking about the changes. Let me give you a hug. Let me give you a hand squeeze. So I'm reassuring through conversation. I'm reassuring through data points. And I'm also reassuring physically. Lastly, I want to leave you all with this. You may have taught your children this. You may never have been taught this yourself. The reality is, home is where the people who love you and take care of you are. Home are not the four walls. Your house, your apartment, that place, yes, did have great memories, did have wonderful hiding spots, did have favorite corners. That's where some of your funnest adventures happened. But all of those happened because of all of you and the love that ties you together and the experiences you have from being together. And so while those four walls may cease to exist, your family magic lives in you and all of the people in your family. So it's really important to be very clear to your children. You may miss that place. You may wish for that place again, but the magic that happened there wasn't stuck there. It didn't burn down there. That stuff is still in you and in the people that you love. So I hope this is helpful to explain to children that you have or you may have conversations with that sometimes life happens and children need us to anchor them and help them learn to navigate in a way that is kid appropriate. If you have any other questions or you need your own call because I don't know, there's other things that are in the mix that you want to have reassurance about, or some phrases that may work better for your particular children or family, please feel free to reach out. I am doing late hours because I know a lot of you now do not have any time away from your children. So if you need an 8 o'clock, a 9 o'clock, a 10 o'clock call, please send me an email and we will make it happen. Wishing you all safety, wishing you all the ability to find peace amidst chaos, and just reminding you everything you need, you have within you. I really believe that. And I think if you can stop and consider circumstances under that light, like, what do I need? I have it within me. Everything else, I believe you will make happen. All right, wishing you well.